Welcome back to another episode of Octane's Oracle, where today I wanted to bring more of a short retrospect to the end of 2021, and this is going to be a weird one, because while I found that the 2019, end of 2019 and 2020 series, so all the releases that happened in that period, were some of my absolute favorites of all time. It's one of my absolute favorite ranges of Lego, and I'm already nostalgic for half the sets that came out in this period. I find that I'm more alone with this one, with a lot of people saying that 2021 was better, and I hate to be controversial, but I disagree. So my overarching statement for today's little talk is that 2021 included higher highs, but more meh. And this is obviously a broad statement, as I believe that all LEGO sets have a purpose to at least someone. There were very few bad sets, and while I might not disagree with some stuff like this, I think it's important to realise that a 5-year-old out there was very happy with a lot of what I'm about to say. So take it with some grain of salt. So going back to 2020 and the end of 2019, I think we're talking about from September onwards. So to start with, in September 2019, we had the Jurassic Park gate, the treehouse. We'd had Steamboat Willie that year. We'd had an amazing ideas wave. And then we went into 2020 with a very solid modular, Birch Books, one of my favourites of all time. That was amazingly coloured. We had the Colosseum, Diagon Alley, the Scion, which was a great follow-up to the Bugatti, the piano, which moved. That was an incredible piece of engineering. We had the introduction of art back when art still felt fresh and not excessive. We had the Haunted House, an amazing homage, another Master Builders series set, which I prefer to UCS sets. But speaking of UCS sets, we had an amazing UCS set with the UCS A-Wing, the Nintendo Entertainment System, which is an unparalleled building experience, one of my favourite building experiences of all time, the return of Pirates with Barracuda Bay, the introduction of Lego Mario, the real thriving of the 80s vehicle line with the Ecto-1 and Batwing. I mean, it cannot get better with those unless we get a Jurassic Park like Cruella. The re-release of two ideas sets, both of which I missed out on, the Saturn V and the Ship in the Bottle. The introduction of Monkey Kid with a really stellar initial wave. The Mickey and Minnie buildable figures. Chinese New Year Temple Fair, which was an outstanding set. Minecraft had an absolutely solid year, ending with stuff like the B-Farm, the introduction of the Elytra, the return of Main Square, and some of the better city sets that year. I mean, not as good as this year. Reintroduction of trains, a new 8080 classically built with better interior for the first time in 6 years. The introduction of a slightly unique take on Marvel with these absolutely stellar comic book outfits. I really love the Invincible Iron Man and War Machines. Going back to classics, the introduction of a molded reindeer. We ended 2019 with the Gingerbread House. There was a cement mixer in Technic. We had that amazing D&D inspired Ninjago wave with amazing buildable figures. That was insane. Star Wars was great. Harry Potter had an amazing wave. The third wave of Hidden Side I have a massive soft spot for. The Neymar Ream piece looks amazing. Bowser's Castle just on its own. Friends had some more stellar stuff. The Summer Fun Water Park. These were all amazing sets. We went to Harry Potter 6 for the first time in years. Mindstorm's return. The Resistance ITS Transport returning. Oh, that was so good. But particularly because that was based off Disney, which was amazing to see. Lion Dot's Minions, which looked amazing. Not the whole sets, obviously, but the buildable Minions. They were great. I'm just looking through board game, video game inspired Ninjago, Privet Drive. These were all amazing sets. Re-releases. We actually went back to the original trilogy for Star Wars, the first proper time in a while. Underwater with City. I love the underwater base from 2020. TIE Fighter pilot helmet. Cannot wait for that. Avengers Tower. A new plane. Speed Champs did really well. There were so many. Venomosaurus, Hedwig. I'm just scrolling through now. We had an insane year in 2020, and I absolutely loved it. But in comparison, when we start talking about 2021, well, I just don't feel as strongly about it. Yeah, we had some real highs. The Titanic being one of the biggest highs. UCS 8080 was almost a high. It was so close, but then the Disney tax. We're going to talk about that a separate time. It's still a high. The oversaturation of art was just, it's nice for some people, but it's just meh to me. Home Alone House, it's just meh to me. Daily Bugle had a figure selection that was amazing, but I don't feel any love towards the build. Star Wars UCS, R2-D2, Gunship, just meh. Hogwarts Icon Collection Edition is stunning and really good. That's a high, but I don't know. The police station, I love the actual style of the building, but I didn't want a police station. I wanted like my adventurers club. So while I love the exterior, that's not enough. So we had higher highs, but just more meh. But that's not to say we didn't have some highs. NASA Space Shuttle Discovery was absolutely amazing as a reboot. I made a whole video talking about that and the T2 Camper, about how they just feel so special as legacy sets. Medieval Blacksmith and Typewriter were both just meh, although they're really, really, really solid builds. I have to say, like, when I'm saying meh, I mean they're still really solid, but to me, they're just not interesting. The Question Block is fantastic, but it's no NES, I have to say, and I didn't even own an NES. The Friends Apartments, that's a massive high, I have to say. I cannot take away from them being a high. Relius of the Tumbler, amazing Joker figure, but just not as exciting as all of the fresh stuff that we had. And the adult market expanded. Another massive high was the Flower Collection. Legendary Fruit of Flout Mountain, the Guardian ship, they stand out, but they don't stand out as much. Spring Lantern Festival, that's another true high. The Pickup Truck and Ice Castle were good. Harry Potter and Hermione Granger was another amazing set. But what I'm getting at here is that there were still a lot of good stuff. I said this. Higher highs. The Titanic is an unrivaled high. The Giant Harry and Hermione are unrivaled highs. But the Winter Village, eh. The normal city sets, eh. The normal Harry Potter sets, eh. Where the majority of Lego's price range is in the like 40 to 100 range, and the majority of the 40 to 100 range was met, and that is the biggest part of their market. When you're selling to a 6-year-old, you're not selling the D2Cs. So while a lot of people are claiming this as their favorite year for like the bigger stuff, when I look at the Imperial Light Cruiser, that's just meh. Seinfeld, meh. A Heartlake Grand City Hotel, meh. The Birds of Paradise was good. The Spider Queen's Arachnoid base. Again, the bigger stuff was pretty alright. I mean, there's something for everyone there. But as far as I'm concerned, I really struggled to like get a large. My list this year was definitely smaller of like sets I wanted. Like when I put them in the wanted list last year, I was closer to 50. This year was more like 20, and that included some sets from last year and some poly bags and Mario character packs, which you guys know I have an obsession with anyway. Even Mario this year was the first wave was the strongest, and I'm really looking forward to the 2022 stuff, but 2021 stuff just wasn't as strong. I mean, it was still stellar, but it was definitely on a lower standard. There was not as much exciting stuff. The busts weren't as exciting. The art wasn't exciting. The city road plates weren't done right, at least in comparison to how they're going to be done in 2022. Ninjago, the Island and Water series, they were all good, but they weren't great, not like last year. Original Superstar, that was a good set. The Probe Droid, good set. Stunts had some charm, but it wasn't exciting. Monkey Kid had a letdown. Star Wars had a letdown. Speed Champions was not as exciting to me personally. Video was alright. The Heartlake City School they're just not as exciting. The middle of the range stuff really did let itself down in comparison, and I think that's what it comes down to. So what made this difference? And I think it's just personally how lucky I got in 2020. 2020 tapped into pretty much everything I love about Lego, and 2021 and 2022 have done the same to an extent. But 2021 just got unlucky. I think they went a bit wide and I lost my interest in some of it. However, as I mentioned, still some seller sets, just not as overall exciting, particularly in the play sets department. Display sets have always been good. They've always been there for someone. But where it really matters to me is your middle of the range play sets. And compared to the years either side of it, I just don't think we did as well. And that's just my opinion. But let me know, what's your favourite year ever for Lego? And in the meantime, I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful new year, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.